I'm not taking you home, Dad. This is where you belong now. I stared at my son, trying to decide whether I'd heard him wrong. If you've ever watched lies destroy a family before the truth finally wins, subscribe to The Last Receipt, because what happened next changed my life forever. Ryan, I said quietly, stop joking. I'm not joking. The automatic doors slid open behind him. A gust of cold air swept through the nursing home's lobby. My fingers tightened around my wedding ring without thinking. You said this was for physical therapy. It is. So, a few days? He didn't answer. Instead, he handed a folder to the receptionist. My father has everything he needs. My heartbeat stumbled. The receptionist smiled politely. Welcome, Mr. Harrison. I looked back at Ryan. When are you picking me up? He adjusted his expensive jacket. We'll see how things go. We? My wife and I. I laughed. It sounded strange. Even to me. Ryan. I'm late. You aren't leaving. I have meetings. You promised. I changed my mind. He turned toward the door. Ryan. He kept walking. Ryan. The doors closed behind him. I stood there with my overnight bag hanging from my shoulder. The silence felt louder than my own breathing. The receptionist cleared her throat. Would you like me to show you your room? My son forgot something. She hesitated. No, sir. He'll be back. Another pause. I don't believe he will. Those words landed harder than any punch. What do you mean? She looked uncomfortable. The paperwork indicates permanent residency. My throat went dry. Permanent? She slowly nodded. There must be some mistake. She handed me a copy. My eyes stopped on one sentence. Long-term placement authorization. No. I shook my head. No. I signed nothing like this. I'm sorry. I didn't. She lowered her voice. Perhaps you should discuss it with your son. I intend to. She looked away. I hope you can. Something about the way she said it made my stomach tighten. An orderly carried my suitcase down the hallway. I followed because I didn't know what else to do. Every step echoed against the polished floor. The room was small. One bed. One dresser. One window overlooking the parking lot. The door clicked shut behind me. I sat on the mattress. The fabric scratched lightly against my palms. My wife Emily used to tease me because I always rubbed blankets between my fingers when I was nervous. She'd laugh. You only do that when you're pretending everything is fine. She'd been gone for 6 years. Cancer doesn't negotiate. I still heard her voice. And for the first time since her funeral, I felt completely alone. My phone buzzed. Ryan. Relief flooded through me. I answered immediately. I knew you'd call. Dad. When are you coming back? I'm not. You don't mean that. I do. There has to be a misunderstanding. There isn't. I've taken care of everything. You can't leave me here. I already did. The line went silent. Then I heard him exhale. You've become difficult. Difficult? You forget appointments. I forgot one dentist appointment. You repeat stories. Everyone repeats stories. You leave lights on. So do you. This isn't helping. Helping what? You need care. I need my son. You have professionals now. He hung up. I stared at the dark screen. Then something inside me shifted. Emily always used to say something else. When people suddenly rewrite reality, write your own version down immediately. My hands trembled as I opened the voice recorder. I pressed record. My name is Thomas Harrison. I swallowed. Today my son, Ryan Harrison, brought me to Green Oaks Nursing Home under the claim that I needed short-term rehabilitation. I looked toward the closed door. I was informed after he left that this placement is permanent. I took another breath. I do not agree with this arrangement. I am making this recording while my memory is clear. I saved it. Then I emailed the recording to myself. And to someone I hadn't spoken to in months. Daniel Brooks. My attorney. The email subject was simple. Please keep this safe. I pressed send. Agency. Emily would have smiled. Then I opened my banking app. 3 unfamiliar withdrawals. Large ones. My chest tightened. I immediately turned on transaction alerts. Every deposit. Every withdrawal. Every transfer. If someone touched my money again, I'd know. I leaned back. That was the third thing Emily always insisted on. Never panic before protecting the evidence. A knock interrupted my thoughts. A nurse stepped inside. She wore a kind smile. I'm Claire. Thomas. Can I get you anything? My son. She hesitated. He seems very concerned about you. I almost laughed again. He told you that? He said caring for you became impossible. I've lived alone for 6 years. He mentioned memory problems. I balance my own investments. He said those were becoming confusing. They weren't. She folded her hands. I'm sure this transition feels overwhelming. It isn't the building. What is it? My son lied. She looked genuinely sympathetic. But she still shook her head. I'm sure he loves you. I thought so too. She left quietly. I sat by the window. Ryan hadn't always been like this. When he was 8, he'd scraped both knees learning to ride a bicycle. He cried. I can't do it. Emily smiled. Your father won't let you fall. I ran beside that bicycle until my lungs burned. When he finally balanced on his own, he turned around shouting, Dad! Look! I'd never been prouder. Now. He had let go first. Dinner came and went. The television murmured somewhere down the hall. A resident laughed loudly. Someone else cried. The sounds blended together. Around 7 that evening, my phone rang again. My sister, Linda. Relief washed over me. Linda. I heard. Then come get me. Silence. Ryan said you wanted professional care. I never said that. He said your memory has been getting worse. My memory is fine. He sounded exhausted. I'm the one sitting in a nursing home. You've always been stubborn. I'm telling you the truth. I think Ryan's doing his best. I closed my eyes. Even she believed him. Please. I'll visit this weekend. Take me home. I can't interfere. She ended the call gently. But she still ended it. One by one. Every person I'd counted on accepted Ryan's version before asking for mine. That night I couldn't sleep. The room smelled faintly of disinfectant. The ceiling tiles blurred as I stared upward. Around midnight my phone vibrated again. A bank alert. Another transfer attempt. Declined. Because the security settings I'd activated required verification. I smiled for the first time all day. Whoever tried that transfer had just learned I wasn't as helpless as they'd hoped. The next morning the administrator introduced herself. I'm Margaret Collins. I'm Thomas Harrison. We're happy to have you here. I'm not staying. She opened a file. Your son explained that denial is common. I leaned forward. Did he also explain why my bank account suddenly has suspicious activity? Her expression changed. Excuse me? I'd like copies of every document he signed. I'm not authorized to release those immediately. Then tell me this. She waited. Did you ever hear me personally request permanent admission? She looked down. No. Did you witness me signing those papers? Another pause. No. The room became very quiet. For the first time. Someone wasn't defending Ryan. They were thinking. She slowly closed the folder. I'll review your file. Please do. As she walked away, I watched uncertainty replace confidence. It wasn't much. But lies rarely collapse all at once. They crack first. And I had just heard the first crack. The next afternoon, Ryan arrived carrying a paper bag from my favorite deli. Anyone watching would have thought he was the perfect son. There he is, he said with a bright smile. How's my old man doing? Claire looked up from the nurse's station. He's had a quiet morning. Ryan sighed dramatically. That's good. Yesterday was confusing for him. My jaw tightened. I'm standing right here. Claire smiled kindly. He remembers everyone today. Ryan chuckled. Some days are better than others. He handed her the bag. I brought him lunch. That's thoughtful. I just want him comfortable. She nodded. You've been very attentive. Ryan thanked her before closing my room door behind him. The smile disappeared instantly. So, he said. So. I see you're already causing problems. I asked questions. You made the administrator uncomfortable. I asked whether she saw me sign those papers. He crossed his arms. You should stop digging. I haven't started. He walked closer. The room suddenly felt smaller. You've always been stubborn. I learned persistence from your mother. His expression hardened for a second. Then it vanished. You know why you're here? Because you left me. Because you couldn't manage anymore. I was paying my own bills. You were becoming forgetful. I forgot your birthday once. You forgot more than that. No. You don't even realize how bad you've gotten. My memory seems excellent whenever money disappears. His eyes narrowed. Be careful. Was that a warning? It was advice. He placed the paper bag on the table. I really did bring lunch. I'm not hungry. You should eat. I'm not signing anything first. His head snapped toward me. What? I've seen enough movies. He laughed. You think this is some conspiracy? I think you're hiding something. He stepped toward the door. You'll tire yourself out. You already sound tired. He opened the door. The smile returned. Love you, Dad. Claire looked over. I'll visit again soon. You're a good son, she said. I try. He walked away. The hallway grew quiet again. Claire entered my room a few minutes later. He really seems to care. I looked at the untouched sandwich. Did you hear what he said after the door closed? She frowned. No. Exactly. She didn't answer. Instead, she checked my blood pressure. It looks normal. It usually is. You seem under a lot of stress. My son abandoned me. She stopped writing. I know this adjustment is painful. It isn't the adjustment. What is it? Being called confused by someone who's counting on people believing it. She left without arguing. That evening my phone rang again. This time it was my niece, Megan. Uncle Tom? Megan. I've been worried. Then come see me. I might. You sound uncertain. Dad says Ryan's overwhelmed. Your father hasn't spoken to me. He says you've changed. In what way? I don't know. She hesitated. He just says you're angry all the time. I stared at the window. Rain tapped softly against the glass. When your Aunt Emily died. Yes? Did I become angry? No. I volunteered every Thursday. I remember. I coached Little League. You did. I paid for your first year of college. You did. So ask yourself something. What? When exactly did I become this monster everyone keeps describing? She didn't answer. I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. After the call ended, I opened my banking app again. Another notification. A request to change the mailing address on one of my investment accounts. Denied. Because alerts now required my approval. I immediately took screenshots. Every page. Every request. Every timestamp. Then I emailed them to Daniel Brooks. I added only one sentence. Someone is trying to move faster than I expected. Send. Another piece of the puzzle protected. The following morning breakfast was unusually loud. Silverware clinked against plates. Televisions competed with conversations. Residents laughed. Others stared silently into coffee cups. Across from me sat Harold. He had lived there for 3 years. You knew? Unfortunately. My daughter picked this place. My son picked this one. He nodded slowly. They usually tell everybody it's temporary. I looked at him. What? He shrugged. Easier that way. Did your daughter say that? First week. Then? She stopped visiting. His words settled heavily inside me. Claire approached with medication cups. Morning, gentlemen. Harold smiled. Morning. She handed me my pills. I looked at them. I don't recognize one. It's a mild sleep aid. I didn't ask for one. Dr. Benson prescribed it. I've never met Dr. Benson. She blinked. He reviewed your intake. I'd like to refuse it. That's your right. She seemed surprised. I handed the pill back. My mind is the one thing I can't afford to cloud. She slowly nodded. I understand. As she walked away, I noticed her looking back. Not suspicious. Curious. Later that afternoon, another visitor arrived. My daughter-in-law, Sarah. She entered carrying flowers. Hi, Tom. Sarah. I thought these might brighten the room. They're beautiful. She arranged them carefully. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I've missed talking to you. I've missed having someone willing to. She smiled sadly. Ryan's under a lot of pressure. So everyone keeps telling me. He worries constantly. About me? About everything. She sat beside the window. The business has been stressful. What business? You know, investments. I know my investments. She quickly corrected herself. I mean his. I noticed the slip. Small. But real. She reached into her purse. I actually brought something. A folder. My heartbeat slowed. What is it? Just routine paperwork. I'll read it. It'll only take a second. I said I'll read it. It's mostly medical authorization. I opened the first page. Halfway down was a financial clause. I looked up. This gives someone authority over my accounts. It's standard. No. It really is. No, Sarah. She swallowed. I didn't write it. But you brought it. She looked away. I was just trying to help. Who? Silence. You. No. I gently closed the folder. You were helping Ryan. Tears gathered in her eyes. It isn't that simple. It never is. She stood. I should go. You still have time to make the right decision. She froze at the doorway. Then she quietly left. That evening I wrote everything down in a small notebook the gift shop sold for $3. Date. Time. Visitor. Exact words. Every conversation. Every contradiction. Every document. Emily used to keep journals. She once told me, people forget conversations. Ink doesn't. I smiled despite myself. By the third day, Margaret Collins knocked on my door. I've reviewed part of your file. And? There are inconsistencies. What kind? I'm not prepared to discuss them. Why not? I need to verify them first. So there are inconsistencies. She didn't answer directly. I'd appreciate your patience. I've already been patient. She nodded. I know. As she turned to leave, Claire was waiting outside. I'll check on Mr. Harrison. Margaret gave her a brief look. Then walked away. Claire entered quietly. You seem different today. I am. She folded her arms. When you first arrived. You believed my son. I did. And now? She hesitated. I don't know what to believe. I nodded. That's progress. She almost smiled. I found something strange. What? The emergency contact forms. I waited. Some signatures don't match. My pulse quickened. You noticed that? I wasn't looking for it. But you found it. Yes. She lowered her voice. I'm not accusing anyone. You don't have to. She met my eyes. For the first time. I think someone may not be telling the whole truth. The lie that had trapped me was no longer standing alone. It had begun to wobble. And somewhere beyond these walls, whoever believed they had already won had no idea the truth had quietly started keeping records. Daniel Brooks called me early Monday morning. Tom. Daniel. I listened to your voice memo 3 times. And? I don't like what I'm seeing. Relief spread through my chest. Someone finally believed me. You believe I wasn't confused? I've represented you for 22 years. You have. I know how you speak when you're uncertain. And? You weren't uncertain. I leaned back in my chair. The morning sunlight reached across the floor. For the first time since Ryan abandoned me, the warmth didn't feel wasted. What did you find? I asked. You forwarded banking alerts, screenshots, and that voice recording. Yes. They don't tell the whole story. My stomach tightened. What do they tell? They tell me someone expected you to stop paying attention. I didn't. I know. He paused. I've requested copies of recent property filings. My house? Everything connected to your estate. When will you know more? Soon. I don't have much time. I don't think they do either. The call ended. I sat quietly. Not hopeless. Waiting. That afternoon, Claire found me reading in the common room. Someone's here for you. Ryan? No. She smiled faintly. A lawyer. Daniel walked in carrying a leather briefcase. He looked exactly the same. Gray hair. Perfect posture. Calm eyes. Tom. We shook hands. Thank you for coming. I should have come sooner. He sat beside me. I reviewed county records. And? There was an attempt to transfer ownership interests connected to your home. I stared at him. What? It wasn't completed. Why? Missing documentation. My pulse quickened. So someone tried. Yes. He opened a folder. The timing matches the day after you arrived here. I closed my eyes. Ryan hadn't just abandoned me. He'd started moving before the dust settled. Daniel slid another document across the table. I also checked your investment accounts. The alerts helped. They helped a great deal. He lowered his voice. Keep documenting everything. I have been. Good. I even bought a notebook. He smiled. Emily would have approved. The mention of her name caught me off guard. I laughed softly. She always believed paper outlived memory. She was right. Before leaving, Daniel handed me a small flash drive. What's this? Digital backup. I already emailed everything. Now you'll have 2 copies. I slipped it into my pocket. Another layer of protection. Another quiet move. No shouting. No accusations. Just preparation. The next morning, Claire stopped me in the hallway. Can we talk? Of course. She glanced toward the nurse's station. Not here. We stepped into a small activity room. She closed the door. I checked visitor records. I waited. Ryan told us he visits almost every day. Does he? She shook her head. Only 3 visits. In 2 weeks? Yes. But he tells everyone he's here constantly. Yes. She looked uncomfortable. I wasn't trying to investigate. You were trying to understand. She nodded. I also noticed something else. What? The admission paperwork says family meetings happened before you arrived. They didn't. I couldn't find any record that you attended. I took a slow breath. One lie. Then another. Now another. Claire looked down at her hands. I defended him. You did. I'm sorry. You believed what you were told. I should have asked more questions. You are now. She looked relieved. That afternoon my phone rang. The caller ID surprised me. George Miller. My next-door neighbor for almost 15 years. George. Tom. You finally called. I wasn't sure if I should. Why? Ryan said you needed rest. I need honesty. Silence. Then George sighed. I saw something. What? Moving trucks. The room suddenly felt colder. When? 3 days after Ryan took you away. My house? Yes. What were they moving? I couldn't tell. Furniture. My garage. Boxes. I gripped the phone tighter. Did Ryan say anything? He told me you decided to downsize. I never did. I figured something felt off. Why didn't you call? He said your phone had been taken because you kept getting confused. I almost laughed. The excuses were becoming ridiculous. My phone never left me. I know that now. George hesitated. I took pictures. I sat upright. You did? I thought I'd delete them. Don't. I won't. I need every one. I'll send them to Daniel. Thank you. The call ended. My heartbeat was steady now. Not because things were getting easier. Because the truth was finally finding witnesses. That evening, Sarah returned. She looked exhausted. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. Can I come in? Of course. She remained standing. I shouldn't stay long. Why? Ryan checks. I noticed the strain in her voice. Different from before. She wasn't defending him. She sounded afraid. I brought back the paperwork. She handed me the folder from last week. I won't ask you to sign anything. Thank you. I read it myself. And? It wasn't medical authorization. I know. I didn't know before. I watched her carefully. Did Ryan tell you what it really was? She nodded slowly. He said once your finances were simplified. She couldn't finish. Simplified? He said it would reduce stress. For who? She looked away. I don't think it was for you. The room stayed quiet. I'm sorry. I believe you mean that. I do. Before leaving, she whispered one sentence. Please be careful. That wasn't fake kindness. That was fear. The next day, Daniel called again. I found something important. I'm listening. Your house. What about it? It was listed with a real estate agency. I couldn't breathe for a second. What? The listing was removed quickly. Why? Unknown. I never approved any listing. I know. He emailed me the screenshot while we talked. There it was. My address. My front porch. The home Emily and I spent 41 years paying for. For sale. Without my knowledge. A photograph showed the flower garden she'd planted. The roses were blooming. She never got to see this year's blossoms. I swallowed hard. I promised her I'd never sell. I remember. My son tried anyway. Daniel spoke gently. This screenshot matters. I know. I've archived it. Good. I've archived everything. After hanging up, I stared at the screen. The roses. The porch swing. The blue shutters Emily painted herself. They thought I would never see those pictures. They thought I would disappear quietly inside this building. Instead, every lie left another receipt. That evening I bought cloud storage using my phone. Every voice memo. Every screenshot. Every email. Every photograph. Every document. Uploaded. Twice. If one copy vanished, another would remain. Quiet planning. Emily would have called it building an umbrella before the storm. The following morning, Margaret Collins approached me. Mr. Harrison. Good morning. I've completed another review. And? She lowered her voice. I owe you an apology. I waited. I believed your son's account. I know. I shouldn't have. What changed? The timelines. She looked genuinely troubled. They don't make sense. No. They were prepared before your arrival. I suspected that. She nodded slowly. I've preserved copies. My eyes widened. You did? In case anyone requests them. I smiled. Thank you. She hesitated. I don't know exactly what's happening. You don't need to. I only know something isn't right. That's enough. She extended her hand. I shook it. One more person had crossed the line separating assumptions from facts. Later that afternoon, Claire found me sitting outside. The breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass. "You seem different." "I am." "You don't look defeated anymore." "I'm not." She smiled. "What changed?" I looked toward the road beyond the nursing home's gates. The truth finally stopped standing alone. She sat beside me. "I've been thinking." "About what?" "Your son believed documents would bury your voice." I nodded. "But your voice created the documents." I smiled. "Exactly. If you believe receipts outlast excuses, stay with the last receipt, because the biggest secret hasn't surfaced yet." I slipped the flash drive back into my pocket. Ryan thought he had erased my future. He didn't realize. He had accidentally preserved the evidence that would destroy every lie he ever told. 3 days later, Ryan came back. He wasn't carrying food this time. He wasn't smiling either. He closed the door behind him and looked around my room. So, I heard you've been making phone calls." "I have." "To lawyers?" "Yes." "To neighbors?" "Yes." He folded his arms. "You really want to do this?" "I didn't start this." He let out a slow breath. "You've always loved playing the victim." I looked at him. That was new. He wasn't calling me confused anymore. Now he was changing history. "I spent 40 years making sure you had everything you needed. You also made sure everyone knew it. I never asked for credit." "No. You demanded gratitude." I blinked. "What?" "You controlled everything." My heartbeat remained calm. He wanted anger. I wouldn't give it to him. "I paid the mortgage. You reminded us every Christmas. I paid your college tuition. You never let me forget. I never brought it up." He laughed once. "See? See what? You don't even remember." There it was. A new tactic. Not confusion. Not concern. Rewriting our lives. I leaned back. "Ryan." "What? How old were you when you broke your arm?" His forehead tightened. "What does that matter? Answer me." "I was 10. "No." He hesitated. 9. "You were 11. He frowned. "You missed 6 weeks of Little League." Silence. "I slept in a hospital chair every night." He looked away. "I remember." "I do too. You don't get to erase the parts that don't fit your story." His jaw tightened. "You think people care about old memories?" "No. I think courts care about evidence." For the first time. He looked uneasy. He left without another word. When the door closed, I noticed my hands. They weren't shaking anymore. Later that afternoon, Daniel called. "I've found another problem. There always seems to be another. This one's bigger." "I'm listening." I compared signatures. "Mine?" "Yes." "And?" "The admission packet." He paused. "The signature doesn't match." I closed my eyes. I knew it. I hired a document examiner. What did they say? "They're not ready for a final opinion." "But?" "They noticed irregular pressure patterns." "You mean?" "It may not be genuine." I sat quietly. Outside my window, children from a nearby daycare laughed on the playground. The sound carried through the open window. For a second, I remembered Ryan at that age. Emily had packed him peanut butter sandwiches every Friday. He always traded the apple slices for cookies. She'd pretend to be angry. Then she'd wink at me when he wasn't looking. The memory hurt. Not because it was gone. Because someone was trying to convince the world it never happened. Daniel interrupted my thoughts. Tom. I'm here. I need you to stay patient. I can do that. No confrontation. I won't. Let the evidence speak. It already is. The next morning, Margaret knocked gently. Do you have a minute? Always. She entered carrying a thick folder. I reviewed archived intake records. And? Some pages were replaced. Replaced? They aren't the originals. My pulse quickened. How can you tell? The paper stock changed. She laid 2 pages side by side. The originals were printed months apart. I looked closely. Even I could see the difference. I've worked here 16 years. She sighed. I noticed things. Who had access? Only administration. And family members during intake. She looked uncomfortable. I shouldn't speculate. You don't have to. She nodded. I've already secured copies. I smiled. Thank you. As she turned to leave, she stopped. I owe you another apology. You already apologized. Not for this. She looked down. When Ryan first arrived. Yes? He cried. I stayed silent. He said you no longer recognized him. I recognized every word he said. I believed those tears. She looked ashamed. I understand. No. She shook her head. I confused emotion with honesty. That sentence stayed with me long after she left. Emotion wasn't proof. Evidence was. That afternoon, I received another visitor. Frank Collins. An old family friend. He and I had built decks together 30 years earlier. He stepped into my room awkwardly. Tom. Frank. He remained standing. I won't stay long. You drove 40 minutes. You noticed. I still notice things. He smiled faintly. I suppose you do. He cleared his throat. I've been talking to Ryan. I guessed. He says things weren't always easy growing up. I waited. He says you scared him. I felt the words settle heavily. Did he tell you how? He said you demanded perfection. I demanded homework before television. He said you embarrassed him. I benched him once for skipping practice. Frank rubbed the back of his neck. I wanted to hear your side. I looked at him. Not angry. Just tired. Frank. Yeah. Do you remember coaching with me? I do. Did you ever see me hit my son? No. Did you ever hear me curse at him? No. Did you ever watch me miss one of his games? Frank looked toward the floor. No. Then ask yourself why these stories appeared only after lawyers became involved. He stayed quiet for a long time. Finally he sighed. There is something. What? I found old photographs. What photographs? Your retirement party. So? Ryan was hugging you. And? He wrote on social media that day. Frank opened his phone. He called you. His voice softened. The best father a son could ever ask for. Neither of us spoke. Frank locked his phone. That doesn't fit what he's saying now. No. It doesn't. He slowly nodded. I need to think. That's all I've ever wanted. When he left, he wasn't defending Ryan anymore. He wasn't defending me either. He was questioning. That was enough. The following day, Daniel arrived in person. He spread documents across the small table. I've subpoenaed financial records. Already? We're moving carefully. What did you find? He pointed to a transfer request. The IP address. I don't understand computers. It originated from Ryan's office. I stared. So it wasn't random. No. He flipped another page. And this. A notarized document. I've never seen that. I know. The notary says she never met you. Silence. What? Someone else appeared. My mouth went dry. They impersonated me? That's what we're investigating. I leaned back slowly. The room felt warm. Too warm. For the first time since arriving here. Fear returned. Not fear of losing. Fear of how far Ryan had been willing to go. Daniel noticed. You all right? I raised him. I know. I taught him honesty. You did. So where did this come from? Daniel didn't answer. Because there wasn't an answer. Only choices. That evening I opened Emily's old Bible from my bedside drawer. She had underlined one verse years ago. Truth stands when everything else falls. She'd written beside it in blue ink. Don't confuse silence with surrender. My eyes lingered on her handwriting. I missed her more than I had in months. Not because I needed someone to fight for me. Because I wanted to tell her I was finally following her advice. Quietly. Patiently. Without hate. The next morning my phone rang. The caller identified herself immediately. Mr. Harrison? Yes. My name is Rebecca Ellis. I don't believe we've met. I'm your financial advisor. My heartbeat slowed. I've been trying to reach you. I'm listening. There was something unusual several weeks ago. What happened? A man claiming to be you requested immediate liquidation of several investments. I never called. I know that now. How? The voice. She hesitated. It sounded rehearsed. I remained silent. He knew account numbers. He knew security questions. But he answered one personal question incorrectly. What question? I asked where you first met your wife. I smiled sadly. What was the answer? He said Chicago. I closed my eyes. No. I suspected as much. I met Emily in Boston. Rebecca continued. The real answer was already on file. So you denied the request. Immediately. Did you document everything? Every call is recorded. The air left my lungs slowly. Recorded. Another piece of evidence. Another lie preserved. Rebecca lowered her voice. I didn't realize how important that call might become. It may become very important. I'll cooperate fully. Thank you. After the call ended, I looked out the window. Ryan had started with concern. Then he questioned my memory. Then he tried to rewrite my past. Now I knew why. Because if people believed I had always been a terrible father, they might never ask why a good son suddenly needed my house. And somewhere beneath every lie, the real reason was finally waiting to be uncovered. The answer arrived on a rainy Thursday morning. Daniel didn't call. He came in person. The moment I saw his face, I knew he had found something big. He closed my room door gently. Tom. You found it. I think we found the reason. He laid a thick folder on the table. I hired a forensic accountant. I frowned. That sounds expensive. He smiled. It was worth every dollar. He opened the first page. Ryan isn't doing as well financially as everyone thinks. I thought his company was successful. So did everyone else. What happened? He borrowed heavily. For what? Commercial real estate. I listened quietly. The market shifted. He lost money. A great deal. Daniel slid another document toward me. Then he refinanced. And? He fell behind. How far? Daniel looked directly at me. If creditors called in those loans, he'd lose everything. The room became still. Not because I was surprised. Because suddenly every lie fit together. The nursing home. The forged paperwork. The house listing. The investment transfers. It wasn't about caring for me. It was about rescuing himself. He needed my assets. Daniel nodded once. He needed them quickly. I closed the folder. I finally understand. No. He leaned forward. You only understand part of it. There is more. There always is. He handed me another page. A loan agreement. The collateral section had several highlighted lines. My address. My home. I stared at it. He offered my house as future collateral. He appears to have represented that he'd control it. But he didn't. No. He expected to. I leaned back slowly. For a long moment neither of us spoke. Outside, rain tapped softly against the window. The sound reminded me of evenings Emily and I spent on our porch. She loved listening to storms. She'd say rain made people tell the truth because silence became impossible. Maybe she was right. Daniel broke the silence. I'm filing emergency motions. Do it. I'll also seek an injunction. Whatever protects the house. It already has. I smiled faintly. Good. After he left, I sat alone. Not angry. Just empty. There is a strange kind of grief that comes when betrayal finally makes sense. You stop asking why. And start mourning the person you thought you knew. That afternoon Sarah arrived again. She looked as though she hadn't slept in days. May I sit down? Of course. She held a coffee cup with both hands. I need to tell you something. I'm listening. She swallowed hard. Ryan doesn't know I'm here. I guessed. He thinks I'm shopping. What changed? Her eyes filled with tears. I found the bills. What bills? The ones he hid. She reached into her purse. I made copies. She handed me several envelopes. Past due notices. Collection letters. Legal warnings. Dates. Amounts. Everything. I wasn't supposed to see these. But you did. She nodded. I opened the wrong desk drawer. Or the right one. She almost smiled. I confronted him. And? He blamed you. I wasn't surprised. What did he say? He said if you had simply signed everything. She stopped. He wouldn't have these problems. I looked at her quietly. So my retirement was his rescue plan. She lowered her head. I'm so sorry. I believe you. He told me you wouldn't understand. I understand perfectly. She wiped away a tear. I defended him for weeks. You loved your husband. I thought I did. You loved the man you believed he was. She stared at the floor. I don't know who he is anymore. Neither did I. Before leaving, she placed one more item on the table. An old voicemail recorder. I almost deleted this. What is it? He accidentally pocket-dialed me. When? The day after he left you here. Have you listened to it? She nodded. I think Daniel should. I picked it up carefully. What does it contain? She looked at me with red eyes. The truth. After she left, I immediately called Daniel. Come back. I'm already halfway home. You need to hear something. How urgent? It may change everything. I'll turn around. An hour later we sat together. Daniel connected headphones. He pressed play. Ryan's voice filled the room. I know he'll fight it. Another voice answered. A man I didn't recognize. Then keep him there. What if he calls a lawyer? He won't. He still remembers too much. There was a short pause. Then Ryan laughed nervously. Once the house closes. The recording crackled. Everything gets paid. The call ended. Daniel removed the headphones. Neither of us spoke. Finally he whispered. This is significant. I know. It establishes intent. It establishes betrayal. He nodded. I'll preserve it immediately. He copied the file onto 2 encrypted drives. Then uploaded it to secure storage. No one would erase this. Not now. The next morning Rebecca Ellis called again. I have additional information. I'm listening. The same individual who impersonated you. Yes? He became aggressive. What do you mean? He demanded immediate transfers. And? When I refused. He threatened legal action. I frowned. He threatened you? Yes. Did you document it? I recorded detailed notes immediately after the call. Do you still have them? Every word. She paused. I didn't realize those notes might matter. They matter very much. I'll provide everything. Another witness. Another piece. Every day the puzzle became clearer. Later that afternoon Claire joined me in the courtyard. You look peaceful. I finally know why. She sat beside me. I heard your lawyer visited. He did. You don't have to tell me anything. I'll tell you one thing. What? This was never about my health. She nodded slowly. I think I realized that. The lies kept changing. First memory. Then personality. Then family history. She looked thoughtful. People usually change stories when the truth doesn't work. I smiled. Exactly. She looked out across the garden. I owe you something. You owe me nothing. I told new staff members your son was devoted. I said nothing. I repeated it. You believed it. I won't repeat it again. That simple promise meant more than she realized. The following day Frank returned. This time he didn't hesitate at the doorway. I brought something. What is it? He handed me a framed photograph. Ryan. Age 12. Standing beside me after winning a fishing tournament. Both of us laughing. I found this in my attic. I smiled. I remember that day. So do I. Frank pointed to the picture. I've spent a week listening to Ryan. And? Those stories don't match this man. He looked directly at me. I should have trusted what I saw with my own eyes instead of what I was told years later. Thank you. I'm ready to testify. I blinked. You would? If it helps tell the truth. It will. After he left, I held the picture for a long time. Ryan's smile wasn't fake in that photograph. That was the hardest part. People don't become strangers overnight. Sometimes they make one selfish choice. Then another. Then another. Until they no longer recognize themselves. That evening Daniel called one final time. The hearing has been scheduled. When? 3 weeks. That's soon. I've assembled the evidence. The voice memo. Yes. The screenshots. Yes. The visitor logs. Yes. The forged signatures. Yes. The investment records. Yes. The voicemail. Most importantly. I took a deep breath. My hands rested calmly on Emily's old Bible. I don't want revenge anymore. Daniel was quiet. What do you want? My name back. He answered without hesitation. Then that's exactly what we're going to fight for. I ended the call and looked around the small room that had once felt like a prison. Now it felt different. Not because the walls had changed. Because I had. I had entered that nursing home feeling abandoned. Now I was walking toward the courtroom carrying something far stronger than anger. The truth. And for the first time since my son closed those automatic doors behind him, I knew he wasn't walking into court with a better story. He was walking in against better evidence. The morning of the hearing arrived without rain. The sky was clear. For the first time in weeks, I tied my own necktie. The fabric felt familiar beneath my fingers. Claire stood outside my room. You look ready. I feel ready. She smiled. I wanted to say something before you leave. I'm listening. When you first arrived, you believed Ryan. I did. She looked down. I judged you before I knew you. You weren't the only one. I'll never make that mistake again. I thanked her. As I walked toward the exit, Margaret was waiting beside the front desk. She held out an envelope. What's this? Certified copies. Of what? The original intake records. I looked at her. You kept them. I thought someone might need the truth. I do. She squeezed my hand. Good luck, Mr. Harrison. Outside, Daniel was already waiting beside his car. You ready? I've never been more ready. The courthouse stood only 15 minutes away. Neither of us spoke during the drive. There was nothing left to rehearse. Truth doesn't require practice. Inside the courthouse, everything felt quiet. People moved from room to room carrying files. Shoes echoed across polished floors. My heartbeat remained steady. Daniel checked his watch. They're already inside. I nodded. I'm not afraid anymore. We're not here to punish. I know. We're here to prove. I smiled. Let's prove it. When we entered the courtroom, Ryan was already seated beside his attorney. He looked confident. Almost relaxed. Sarah sat several rows behind him. She didn't look at him. She looked at me. Then she gave the smallest nod. I returned it. The hearing began. The judge looked over both tables. Mr. Harrison. Your Honor. Mr. Brooks. Ready, Your Honor. Ryan's attorney stood first. My client acted solely out of concern for his father's declining mental condition. Ryan lowered his eyes. The performance had begun. He arranged professional care. He attempted responsible financial management. He acted as any loving son would. The attorney sat down. The judge turned toward Daniel. Mr. Brooks. Daniel stood calmly. We agree on one point. The courtroom became still. This case is about responsibility. He opened the first folder. But not the responsibility counsel described. He held up my voice memo. My client created this recording less than 1 hour after entering the nursing facility. The judge listened through headphones. When she finished, she looked toward Ryan. Daniel continued. The recording clearly states Mr. Harrison believed he was entering temporary rehabilitation. He placed it into evidence. Then he picked up another document. Next. The banking alerts. The same afternoon. He pointed to the dates. Multiple attempts were made to access Mr. Harrison's finances. Another exhibit. Then came the screenshots. Then the denied address changes. Then the cloud backups. One after another. No speeches. Just facts. Ryan shifted slightly in his chair. Daniel continued. The visitor log. Claire took the witness stand. She looked nervous. Daniel smiled reassuringly. Ms. Carter. Yes. Did Mr. Ryan Harrison tell staff he visited almost daily? He did. What did the records show? Only 3 visits. Did those records come from the facility's own system? Yes. Were they altered? No. Ryan looked toward the table. Not at Claire. She continued. I originally believed Ryan. Daniel nodded. What changed? The records. No further questions. Ryan's attorney stood. Isn't it possible you simply misunderstood his schedule? Claire answered calmly. I misunderstood his words. She looked directly at the judge. The records did not. She stepped down. Next came Margaret. Ms. Collins. Yes. You reviewed the admission file? I did. What did you discover? Several pages had been replaced. Why is that significant? The paper stock and print dates didn't match. She explained every detail carefully. No emotion. Just observations. Ryan's attorney tried to interrupt. So you're accusing my client? Margaret shook her head. I'm describing documents. She stepped down. Daniel called Rebecca Ellis. The financial advisor adjusted her glasses. Ms. Ellis. Good morning. Did someone attempt to liquidate Mr. Harrison's investments? Yes. Did you believe the caller was Mr. Harrison? No. Why? He answered a personal verification question incorrectly. What question? Where he first met his wife. And the incorrect answer? He said Chicago. She smiled gently toward me. Mr. Harrison always answered Boston. Daniel nodded. Was the conversation documented? It was recorded and summarized immediately afterward. Thank you. Ryan's attorney stood. People forget details. Rebecca answered without hesitation. Not that detail. She stepped down. Daniel looked toward me briefly. Then he called Frank. Frank walked slowly to the witness stand. You've known Thomas Harrison how long? 35 years. Did you ever observe abuse? No. Did you ever hear Ryan describe his father that way before this dispute? No. What did you later find? Frank held up a printed photograph. His retirement party. Daniel displayed it. Ryan had his arm around me. Both of us smiling. And a social media post. Frank read aloud. Best father a son could ever ask for. Silence settled across the courtroom. Ryan looked away. His attorney declined cross-examination. Daniel returned to counsel table. Then looked toward Sarah. Mrs. Harrison. She slowly approached the witness stand. Ryan finally looked at her. His face tightened. She avoided his eyes. Mrs. Harrison. Yes. Did you originally believe your husband? I did. What changed? I found hidden debt. She described the overdue notices. The collection letters. The concealed loans. Daniel asked one final question. Did your husband ask you to obtain financial signatures from Mr. Harrison? Yes. For what purpose? She took a slow breath. He said once the house was under his control. She closed her eyes briefly. Everything would be paid. Ryan whispered. Sarah. She didn't look at him. Daniel nodded. No further questions. Ryan's attorney tried to challenge her. You're angry because your marriage is failing. Sarah answered quietly. My marriage failed because I finally stopped lying. She stepped down. Daniel looked at the judge. One final exhibit. He connected a speaker. The voicemail played. Ryan's own voice echoed through the courtroom. I know he'll fight it. Another man's voice answered. Then keep him there. The recording continued. Once the house closes, everything gets paid. Daniel stopped the recording. He didn't add commentary. He didn't need to. The room was completely silent. The soft sound of papers turning broke the silence. The judge reviewed the transcript. Then she looked toward Ryan. Mr. Harrison. Ryan stood slowly. This recording lacks context. The judge waited. Ryan swallowed. I was under tremendous financial pressure. No one interrupted. I thought. His voice weakened. I thought I could fix everything. The judge looked at him steadily. By placing your father in long-term care without his informed consent? Ryan said nothing. By attempting to obtain control of his property? Silence. By permitting false representations regarding his mental capacity? Ryan lowered his head. I made terrible decisions. That was the only reaction he gave. The judge folded her hands. The documentary evidence presented today establishes a consistent pattern. She looked at the files. The court finds substantial evidence of deception, attempted financial exploitation, and misuse of legal documents. She signed several orders. Mr. Harrison's authority over his father's financial affairs is immediately revoked. Another signature. The attempted property transfers are declared void pending further proceedings. Another signature. This matter is referred for additional civil and criminal review where appropriate. She looked at me. Mr. Harrison. Yes, Your Honor. The court recognizes your legal capacity to manage your own affairs. I nodded once. Thank you. The hearing was over. There was no applause. No shouting. Just quiet. Daniel gathered the evidence back into his briefcase. He smiled. The truth carried itself. I looked toward Ryan. He remained seated. Alone. I didn't feel triumph. I felt release. If you believe truth always outlasts manipulation, stay with the last receipt, because the final chapter isn't about revenge. It's about what comes after justice. The courthouse doors opened. Warm sunlight fell across the front steps. For a moment, I simply stood there. The air smelled different outside. Free. Daniel walked beside me. We did it. We did. He smiled. You handled every attack with patience. I learned that from my wife. I know. He shook my hand. My work isn't finished. I know. The investigations will continue. They should. He nodded. But today. He looked toward the sky. Today you go home. Those two words almost brought me to tears. Home. Not a courtroom. Not a nursing home. Home. Daniel drove me back to Green Oaks one final time. Claire met us in the lobby. You won. We did. She laughed softly. I suppose everyone here was talking about it. Margaret stepped out of her office. We've already received the court order. She handed me a thin folder. Your discharge papers. I smiled. I've been waiting for these. She looked genuinely happy. So have we. Claire hugged me carefully. I'll miss our conversations. I won't miss the reason we had them. She laughed. Fair enough. Harold rolled over in his wheelchair. So. You escaping? I am. He smiled. Good. I bent down beside him. You still play chess? Every Thursday. I'll visit. You promise? I don't make promises lightly anymore. He reached out his hand. Then I'll expect you. We shook hands. Before leaving, I looked around the room that had been mine. The bed was neatly made. The dresser was empty. The window still overlooked the parking lot. It no longer felt like a prison. It felt like the place where I had stopped being powerless. I quietly whispered, "Thank you, Emily." Then I walked out. The drive home felt strangely familiar. Every street held a memory. The bakery where Emily bought birthday cakes. The park where Ryan learned to throw a baseball. The hardware store where we spent Saturday mornings arguing over paint colors. Nothing had changed. Except me. When we turned onto my street, my chest tightened. My house stood exactly where it always had. Blue shutters. White porch. Emily's rose bushes still blooming. George was watering his lawn. He spotted my car immediately. Tom. He hurried across the yard. You made it. I did. He pulled me into a hug. I should have questioned things sooner. You questioned them when it mattered. I still feel guilty. So did I. He looked surprised. For what? For believing I had somehow failed as a father. George shook his head. You didn't. I know that now. He smiled. The neighborhood knows too. I unlocked the front door. The familiar scent of cedar and old books greeted me. For a second. I couldn't move. Emily's favorite chair sat exactly where she had left it years ago. The framed family photographs still lined the hallway. I touched one gently. Ryan at age 6. Covered in birthday cake frosting. Laughing. I smiled sadly. I hope you find your way someday. Not because he deserved forgiveness. Because carrying hatred would only make me another prisoner. Daniel helped me carry in the last box. I'll leave you to it. Thank you. You don't owe me anything. I disagree. He smiled. Then invite me over once you've settled. You're getting Emily's apple pie recipe. I've heard legends. He left laughing. The house grew quiet. That evening I walked into the backyard. The porch swing creaked softly. Emily and I had spent hundreds of evenings there. I sat down. The wood felt warm from the afternoon sun. I slipped my wedding ring between my fingers. I kept my promise. The breeze moved gently through the roses. For the first time in a long time. Peace felt possible. A week later my sister Linda knocked on the front door. I opened it. She looked nervous. Hi. Hello, Linda. I don't expect you to forgive me. I stayed silent. I believed Ryan. I know. I never asked for your side. No. Tears filled her eyes. I was wrong. I nodded slowly. What changed? I attended the hearing. She looked down. I finally listened. I stepped aside. Come in. She looked surprised. You still want to see me? I lost enough family already. She hugged me. I'm sorry. I know. We spent 2 hours talking. Not arguing. Talking. She admitted every mistake. I admitted every hurt. Neither erased the past. But honesty finally entered the room. Several days later Sarah called. "Tom? How are you? I'm filing for divorce." I wasn't surprised. I wanted you to hear it from me. I appreciate that. I also wanted to thank you. For what? You treated me with kindness even after I brought those papers. You chose truth. I almost didn't. But you did. She laughed quietly through tears. I think that's the first good decision I've made in months. It won't be the last. She wished me well. Then hung up. About a month after the hearing, Daniel visited again. He carried one envelope. "Good news. I'm listening. The investigations are moving forward. And? The fraudulent documents have all been invalidated. My house? Protected. My accounts? Protected. My name?" He smiled. Completely cleared. I let out a long breath. The weight I had carried for weeks finally disappeared. Not because everything was perfect. Because the truth no longer needed defending. Before leaving, Daniel handed me one last item. "What is this?" "My invoice." I laughed. I was wondering when that would arrive. He grinned. "I reduced it." "Why?" "Because sometimes justice pays its own fees." We both laughed. After he left, I walked through every room of my house. The kitchen. The living room. The hallway. The small bedroom Ryan had grown up in. His baseball glove still rested on the top shelf of the closet. I picked it up. The leather had grown stiff with time. I held it for a moment. Then carefully placed it back. Some memories deserve to remain untouched. Not because they erase betrayal. Because they remind us that love was once real. Months passed. Life became quiet again. I visited Harold every Thursday just as I had promised. Claire sometimes joined our chess games on her day off. Margaret retired from Green Oaks and sent me a handwritten note. George never missed mowing my lawn when I traveled. Life wasn't perfect. But it was honest. And honesty is a peaceful place to live. People sometimes ask me whether I hate my son. My answer always surprises them. I don't. What do you feel? I feel sad. For him. For the choices he made. Because money can be earned again. Houses can be repaired. Reputations can sometimes recover. But once trust is traded for greed, the price is almost always higher than anyone expected. The greatest victory wasn't watching Ryan lose in court. It was refusing to become bitter while proving the truth. Winning wasn't revenge. Winning was walking back through my own front door with my name, my dignity, and my future still intact. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Sometimes telling the truth is the first step toward taking your life back. And if stories like this remind you that patience, evidence, and integrity are stronger than manipulation, don't forget to subscribe to The Last Receipt. Because the strongest revenge isn't destroying someone else's life. It's refusing to let them destroy yours.